My name is Vivian, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the successful one in my family. Not in a boastful way, mind you, but in a quiet, steady manner that often felt more like an unspoken obligation than a blessing. I worked hard, built a thriving tech startup from the ground up, and eventually, after years of relentless effort, managed to purchase my dream home, a sprawling, magnificent estate nestled in the heart of Vermont, boasting panoramic views of the Green Mountains and a price tag that made my mother gasp, a cool $2 million. It was my sanctuary, my reward, a testament to every late night and every sacrifice. But to my family, particularly my younger sister, Chloe, and to a lesser extent my mother, it seemed to represent something else entirely, a bottomless well from which they could draw, and a perpetual reminder of my perceived otherness. I've always been generous to a fault. When Chloe struggled with rent, I helped. When my mother needed a new car, I contributed significantly. I'd flown them out to my estate for holidays, covered their expenses, and genuinely tried to share my good fortune. I believed in family, in connection, in lifting each other up. But over the years, a subtle shift occurred. My generosity became an expectation, my presence at family gatherings taken for granted, and my opinions often dismissed. Chloe, in particular, developed an almost competitive edge, a subtle undercurrent of resentment that would occasionally surface as a snide remark or a pointed glance. My mother, bless her heart, usually played mediator, but even her attempts often felt more like enabling Chloe than truly addressing the imbalance. Thanksgiving had always been a sacred tradition in our family, a time for gathering, for warmth, for appreciating what we had. For the past decade, it had been hosted at Chloe's modest suburban home, not because she particularly enjoyed hosting, but because it was her turn, and I always offered to bring the most expensive dishes, the finest wines, and often a hefty check to cover a significant portion of the grocery bill. I didn't mind. I loved seeing everyone happy, and I cherished the rare moments of genuine togetherness. This year, however, things took an unexpected and frankly deeply hurtful turn. It was late October, and I was already mentally planning my contribution to Chloe's Thanksgiving feast. I'd even found an exquisite heirloom pumpkin that I thought would make a stunning centerpiece. Then the phone rang. It was my mother. "Vivian, honey, about Thanksgiving," she began, her voice unusually hesitant, laced with an awkwardness I immediately picked up on. A prickle of unease started in my stomach. "Chloe and I were talking, and, well, we've decided to keep it a bit smaller this year. More intimate, just immediate family." Immediate family? My heart sank. I was immediate family. The eldest daughter, the one who always showed up, always helped. Smaller? Mom, what do you mean? Am I not invited? I asked, my voice barely a whisper, a strange mix of disbelief and hurt already forming a lump in my throat. There was a long pause on the other end, punctuated by what sounded like a muffled sigh. "Well, darling, it's just that Chloe feels like you always bring so much, and her place is small. And with you being so busy with work, we just thought it might be less stress for you. A quiet Thanksgiving at your beautiful estate, perhaps?" Her words tumbled out, a flimsy tapestry of excuses that unraveled even as she spoke them. Less stress for me? I loved Thanksgiving. I loved the chaos, the laughter, the warmth of a full house. And my busy work schedule had never stopped me before. "Mom," I said, my voice gaining a brittle edge, "I'm not busy. I was looking forward to it. I always look forward to it. And I'm immediate family. What exactly does immediate family mean if it doesn't include me?" Another sigh, this one more exasperated. "Vivian, please don't make a fuss. Chloe just wants a simpler holiday this year. She's under a lot of pressure. You know how she gets." I knew how Chloe got. She got what she wanted, and clearly what she wanted this year was a Thanksgiving without me. The hurt was a sharp, physical pain now, a betrayal that stung deeper than any financial slight. It wasn't about the food or the travel or the effort. It was about being deliberately excluded, deemed not worthy of a place at a table I had helped sustain for years. It was about the casual dismissal of my feelings, couched in patronizing concern for my stress. "I understand, Mom," I finally said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "Thank you for letting me know." I hung up before I could say something I'd regret, or worse, before I broke down. The receiver felt heavy in my hand, a symbol of the weight that had just settled on my chest. For the rest of the evening, I walked around my magnificent Vermont estate feeling utterly hollow. The silence that usually brought me peace now felt deafening, mocking. My beautiful home, designed for warmth and gathering, suddenly felt cold and empty. I called my best friend Sarah and recounted the conversation, my voice cracking with each detail. Sarah, always my rock, was furious on my behalf. "Vivian, that's outrageous. After everything you've done for them, it's pure jealousy, or worse, pure entitlement. They're taking advantage of you, plain and simple." Her words resonated, sparking a slow burn of anger beneath the initial blanket of hurt. It wasn't just this Thanksgiving. It was a pattern. The times Chloe had forgotten to pay me back for loans, citing her financial struggles, even as I saw new designer bags appear on her social media. The way my mother would subtly shift blame onto me when Chloe's plans fell through, as if my success somehow made me responsible for Chloe's setbacks. I had always dismissed these incidents as minor annoyances, focusing on the bigger picture of family love. But now, with the sting of the disinvitation fresh, those minor annoyances coalesced into a clear, undeniable picture of disrespect and manipulation. I spent the next few days in a fog, oscillating between sadness and a simmering fury. I considered confronting Chloe directly, demanding an explanation, but what good would it do? She would deny, deflect, or worse, make me feel guilty for questioning her. My mother would inevitably side with her, painting me as the difficult one. I needed a different approach. I needed to reclaim my narrative, my holiday, my self-respect. And then it hit me, a spark, a mischievous glint in the darkness. They wanted a smaller, more intimate Thanksgiving? Fine, I would have one too. But mine would be an inclusive, joyous celebration, utterly devoid of the pettiness that had infected my family dynamic. I would invite everyone, not just my immediate family, but my extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, who always seemed to be relegated to the overflow table at Chloe's house. I would invite my closest friends, my wonderful neighbors, even a few colleagues who had become like family. And I would host it at my Vermont estate, the very place my mother had ironically suggested I spend a quiet Thanksgiving. This wasn't about spite, not entirely. It was about creating the Thanksgiving I deserved, the one I had always envisioned, a feast of abundance, warmth, and genuine connection, unburdened by resentment. But beneath that noble intention, a delicious thread of strategic revenge began to weave itself. If they wanted to exclude me, they would find themselves excluded from the very people they usually relied on for holiday cheer. I picked up my phone and started making calls. My network of extended family was vast, and many of them lived scattered across New England. The conversations were exhilarating. "Aunt Carol, Uncle David, this is Vivian. I know you usually go to Chloe's for Thanksgiving, but this year I'm hosting at my place in Vermont. A grand feast, a real celebration. Would you be willing to join me?" To my surprise and immense delight, almost everyone I called accepted with enthusiasm. My Aunt Carol, a sweet woman who always felt overlooked, practically squealed with joy. "Vivian, your estate! Oh, that would be magnificent. Chloe's place is cozy, but yours, it's like something out of a magazine." Cousin Mark, a jovial man with a booming laugh, said, "Finally, a Thanksgiving where I can stretch my legs and not have to navigate a maze of toys just to get to the mashed potatoes." It became clear that many of them, while fond of Chloe, were tired of the cramped quarters, the predictable menu, and perhaps the underlying tension that often permeated her gatherings. I made sure to mention, ever so casually, that I had been disinvited from Chloe's smaller gathering. I didn't frame it as a complaint, but as a simple statement of fact, a reason for my sudden decision to host. The response was universal. Shock, then indignation. Disinvited? After all you do? Was a common refrain. The seeds of doubt about Chloe's and my mother's actions were sown, not by my deliberate effort, but by the sheer absurdity of the situation. My guest list quickly swelled to over 30 people. This wasn't just a dinner, it was going to be an event. I dove into the planning with a fervor I hadn't felt in years. I hired a local catering company renowned for their farm-to-table philosophy to handle the main courses, ensuring everything would be fresh, seasonal, and utterly delicious. I envisioned a menu that blended traditional favorites with gourmet touches: a succulent heritage turkey, cranberry-paired chutney, artisanal sourdough stuffing, roasted root vegetables with herbs for my own garden, and a decadent array of pies. For decorations, I contacted a local florist to create breathtaking autumnal arrangements, transforming my already beautiful dining room into a warm, inviting haven. I even arranged for a local musician to play soft, festive jazz in the living room before dinner, setting a sophisticated yet cozy ambiance. My estate, usually a peaceful retreat, buzzed with activity. The caterers bustled in and out, the florist meticulously placed garlands of fall leaves and berries, and I, for my part, felt an invigorating sense of purpose. This wasn't just about proving a point. It was about creating something truly special, something that reflected my own spirit of generosity and hospitality. I wanted this Thanksgiving to be unforgettable, a beacon of warmth and joy. As the date drew closer, a strange sense of calm settled over me. The initial hurt had receded, replaced by a quiet confidence. I knew Chloe and my mother would eventually find out. News travels fast in families, especially when you've essentially poached their entire guest list. I anticipated the inevitable phone calls, the accusations, the attempts to manipulate me back into their narrative. But I was ready. Thanksgiving Day dawned crisp and clear, a perfect Vermont autumn day. The air was cool, carrying the scent of wood smoke and pine. The mountains outside my windows were ablaze with the last vestiges of fall color. I put on a beautiful, deep emerald dress, feeling elegant and composed. The house was alive with the aroma of roasting turkey, warm spices, and freshly baked bread. Soft jazz music already drifted through the living room, a gentle prelude to the day's festivities. Guests began to arrive around noon. My aunts, uncles, and cousins, many of whom I hadn't seen in years, spilled through the door, their faces alight with wonder at the sight of my home. "Vivian, this is absolutely stunning!" Aunt Carol exclaimed, her eyes wide as she took in the grand foyer and the sprawling living room. Cousin Mark clapped me on the back, his laugh booming. "Now this is a Thanksgiving. You really outdid yourself." There was an immediate warmth, a genuine joy that filled every corner of my home. Conversations flowed easily, laughter echoed through the halls. My friends mingled seamlessly with my family, and even my usually reserved neighbors found themselves drawn into the convivial atmosphere. No one mentioned Chloe or my mother directly, but I caught glimpses of knowing smiles, subtle nods, and the occasional sympathetic glance in my direction. They understood. They saw what I had created, and they appreciated it. Dinner was a spectacular affair. The long, beautifully set dining table, usually so vast for just me, was filled with vibrant faces, clinking glasses, and the joyful murmur of conversation. The food was exquisite, each dish a testament to thoughtful preparation and fresh ingredients. There was no rush, no tension, just pure, unadulterated enjoyment. I watched my extended family, usually so scattered, gathered together under my roof, genuinely happy. It was everything Thanksgiving should be, and everything I had longed for. Around dessert, my phone, which I had deliberately kept silent all day, finally vibrated. It was my mother. I excused myself, stepping into a quiet corner of the library. I took a deep breath and answered. Vivian, what is going on? Your Aunt Carol just posted pictures on Facebook. Everyone is at your house. What kind of stunt are you pulling? My mother's voice was shrill, laced with a mixture of anger and panic. Mom, it's Thanksgiving. I'm hosting a dinner, I replied calmly, my voice steady. You disinvited me, remember? You said you wanted a smaller, more intimate gathering, so I decided to have my own. But you invited everyone. Chloe's house is practically empty. It's just us and Uncle Bob, who always falls asleep after the turkey. This is humiliating. Her voice cracked with genuine distress, a distress that, for once, didn't elicit sympathy from me. Mom, I invited people who wanted to spend Thanksgiving with me, people who appreciate being invited. I didn't pull a stunt. I simply hosted a holiday for those who wanted to celebrate it with me. I heard a muffled voice in the background, Chloe's, no doubt, fueling the fire. Chloe is devastated, Vivian. You've ruined her Thanksgiving. How could you be so cruel? Cruel, Mom? Was it not cruel to disinvite me from my own family's Thanksgiving? To tell me I was too much, too busy, too inconvenient? I'm simply living my life, Mom, and I'm celebrating with people who genuinely want me here. I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. Perhaps this is a good opportunity for you and Chloe to reflect on how you treat people, especially family. I heard Chloe's voice then, clearer this time, sharp with indignation. This is typical Vivian, always trying to show off, always trying to make us look bad. Chloe, I said, my voice firm, I'm not trying to make anyone look bad. I'm simply enjoying my holiday, surrounded by people I care about in my own home. If you feel bad, perhaps you should ask yourselves why. Now, if you'll excuse me, my guests are waiting. I hope you both have a quiet Thanksgiving. And with that, I hung up. The satisfaction was immense, a warmth spreading through me that had nothing to do with the wine or the festive atmosphere. I returned to the dining room, a serene smile on my face. No one asked about the call. They simply welcomed me back into the lively conversation, and I rejoined them, feeling lighter and freer than I had in years. The rest of the evening was a blur of good food, good company, and genuine affection. My guests lingered, reluctant to leave, testament to the success of the day. The fallout, as expected, was swift and dramatic. Chloe tried to rally support, posting vague, self-pitying statuses on social media about family drama and betrayal. But the pictures from my Thanksgiving, already circulating, told a different story, a story of warmth, abundance, and joy. Many family members, emboldened by their positive experience at my estate, started calling Chloe and my mother, not to chastise, but to express their confusion and disappointment about being excluded from Chloe's intimate gathering, especially when Vivian, the one who always made things special, was also out. My mother eventually called me back a few days later, her tone significantly chastened. She apologized, truly apologized, for the first time acknowledging Chloe's manipulative tendencies and her own role in enabling them. Chloe, on the other hand, remained stubbornly silent. She never apologized, never reached out. And I realized, with a bittersweet pang, that our relationship, or what was left of it, was truly severed. But it was a severance I could live with. That Thanksgiving wasn't just a holiday, it was a turning point. It taught me the invaluable lesson of setting boundaries, of recognizing true appreciation versus mere expectation. I learned that my generosity should be given to those who value it, not to those who exploit it. My beautiful Vermont estate, once a symbol of my success, now felt truly like home, a place where I could create my own traditions, surrounded by people who genuinely loved and respected me. I still host Thanksgiving every year, and it's always a grand, joyous affair. My mother is always there, a little quieter, a little more appreciative. And Chloe, well, I haven't seen or heard from her since that day. And honestly, my Thanksgivings and my life are all the richer for it. Sometimes the most profound acts of self-love come disguised as the most satisfying revenge.